let me show you something that no founder ever sees, but that every serious VC writes before writing a check. This is a deal memo. It's a document that I write before investing into any startup. And honestly, it might be the best habit I've built as an investor. Because early stage investing is chaos. There's hype, time pressure, fear of missing out. And so if you don't force yourself to slow down and think clearly, you're gonna get crushed. So in this video, I'm going to pull the curtain and walk you through an exact deal memo that I wrote. But before we start, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. I publish every week around VC and the YC world that I love so much. Thank you. Most angel investors hear a pitch, get excited, and wire the money. No thesis, no memo, no real reflection, just vibes. And that's fine if you're doing this for fun. But if you want to make money and actually get better, you need something that most investors never build, a record of your own thinking. That's what a deal memo is. It's a document that you write before investing in a startup where you outline why you're investing, what do you think is going to happen, and what could go wrong. Of course, like everyone else, I used to think that I could trust myself and that I would remember exactly why I invested several years ago. Spoiler alert, I couldn't. And if you can't remember your reasoning, you can't make it better. And so here's what most people don't get. A deal memo is not for founders, it's not even for LPs, it's for you. Because early stage investing is messy, it goes fast, there's urgency and FOMO, but a memo forces clarity. Why am I doing this? What are the hypotheses that I'm believing in right now? So it really is the difference between a gut feel and an actual conviction. As Michael Seibel often says, clarity of thought is one of the most underrated founder skills. And honestly, I agree. Clear thinking really is a competitive advantage, and memos help you do that. What's interesting is when I write a memo, I'm not just preparing for an investment, I'm creating a time capsule. Every memo becomes a snapshot of my judgment at that time under that pressure. What I saw, what I believed, and the risks that I identified or what I thought might break. And then when I look back 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I don't have to guess how I was thinking at the time. I've got the receipts. Some of the best investors I know, Sequoia, Andreessen Horowitz, they do this religiously. They don't just remember what they invested in, they remember why. And that compounds over time. And of course, writing those memos, it's a skill. It sharpens your instinct. You start spotting patterns faster, but you can also catch yourself when you're just excited, but there's nothing real behind it. Sometimes you're chasing charisma instead of traction. And so that's why I write them. Not to look smart, but to get better, deal after deal. Okay, so writing down matters, but what does that actually look like? Well, let me share with you a tool that I use for clear decision making when the time pressure is on. If you're ever invested in a startup, pause this video right now, take up a pen and paper, and write just 5 bullet points on why you invested in them. That's the one-pager test, and it's not something I made up. At Sequoia, partners are expected to distill their entire investment thesis into a very short one-page memo that everyone can read. It's usually less than a page, and if you're not able to do that, then the partners will not even consider your investment idea. The idea is simple. If you can't clearly explain why this startup is worth betting on, then you probably don't understand it well enough. This discipline isn't just for VCs, by the way. At Amazon, Jeff Bezos banned PowerPoints. Every major decision started with a narrative memo, often with a short summary of less than a page at the beginning. Jeff Bezos says it that way. If you want to be inventive, you have to be willing to fail. But also, writing things down is a key part of clarity. It forces a deeper level of thinking. And at A16Z, partners like Angel Estrange have talked about the importance of writing down your thesis even if you're not leading rounds. Because writing down forces you to slow down, name your assumptions, and catch your blind spots before they cost you real money. So here's what that might look like. Team, 2 ex-SpaceX engineers with clear founder market fit. Market, $12 billion with regulatory tailwinds. Traction, 400K ARR, growing 20% per month. Thesis, dominant wedge into underserved mid-market logistics. Risks, hardware margins, and dependency on two major suppliers. That's it. It doesn't have to be fancy, but it pushes out the vibes and the fear of missing out. So that's the fast version. But often I go deeper and write a full memo. So let me take you to an example. So here's a real memo. I've anonymized the data obviously, but it's exactly how I built it and wrote it when I did invest. Let's start at the top, highlight an overview. Again, the idea is to be able to summarize what the startup is doing in a few short sentences. Then the team. Who are the founders? Why are they building this? And why are they the best team to succeed? Next up is the product. How do they describe what they're building and how do I describe what they're building? Are they building a vitamin or a painkiller? How far along are they? Next, we talk about the market. Of course, the size of the market, that's the TAM, but how is it evolving? Is it a growing market or a slowing down market? Is there a lot of players? Is technology like AI breaking into this market? So market is very important. Next is the why now. Has new technology come out recently allowing them to build this? Do we have regulatory tailwinds? Maybe there's new infrastructure happening. Everything you want to know about the why now. Next, there's monetization. How do they make money? How are they going to grow their startup? What's the customer acquisition strategy? Of course, we want to talk about the traction. How fast is it growing? Are customers staying put or do they have a high churn? So that's very critical to me. Next comes the unfair advantage. I've talked about it on this channel before. What makes this startup sure to win even if Facebook, Meta, Zuckerberg, or anyone else comes for their lunch? And what makes this advantage unfair so that no one else can get it and win against them? Risks, what could go wrong? What could make this company go to zero? What could happen so that our investment just is worth nothing in the future? That's not what we hope for, but we want to identify those risks. And lastly, the investment thesis and decision. Given everything that we just wrote, why do we think it is a good investment or it isn't a good investment for the fund? That's it. That's the memo. It's 10 clear sections, but each of them forces me to think about precisely what's happening for this startup. Because I believe that every great investment starts with great thinking, and great thinking starts with writing. But here's the real test. What happens when you come back to your memo years later? Did it hold up? Were you right? What did you miss? Or what did you get wrong? So let me show you how I track that. One of the most powerful habits that I've built over time is not only writing memos, but it's rereading them. Not right after the deal, but 1, 2, 3 years later. Some age really well, but some others obviously didn't. So maybe I was overconfident or I didn't see something. Sometimes I was technically right, but for the wrong reasons. So that's just called being lucky. That's not what you want. So that's why I don't just track outcomes, but I score my memos on 3 dimensions. 1, outcome, did the company succeed? 2, clarity, did I articulate my assumptions well? And 3, accuracy, did the thesis match the reality? That process has changed how I invest because it's not just about spotting patterns, it's about improving the ones you follow. And here's something founders rarely see. At Lobster Capital, we write memos even when we don't invest. If I say no to a startup, I document why. Not for the founder, for me. Because if that company blows up later, I want to know, was I wrong or just too early? That builds a database of judgment calls. And that's what real investing is. Judgment compounding over time. Most investors optimize for conviction, but I optimize for calibration. And that only happens if you write things down before you know the outcome. And here's what most people miss. This kind of thinking isn't just great for investors. If you're a founder, writing your own memo might be the smartest thing you could do. So if you're a founder, I want you to remember one thing from this video. You don't need a VC to write a memo about your startup. You should be writing your own. Why? Well, for the same reason. Because the second you start writing, you'll spot the holes into your own startup. You'll realize where your story is strong and where it's only wishful thinking. A founder memo forces you to confront the same questions I'm asking myself before I invest. What do I believe about this market? Why is this team the best one to deliver on this? And what are the risks that no one wants to talk about? Most founders avoid those questions, but the best ones, they lean in. They document their edge, they write down their assumptions, and they revisit that thinking often before the market forces them to. Imagine a pitch where a founder just skips the fluff and sends you a one-pager with just clarity. In the second sentence, she calls out her biggest risk. And instead of making me nervous, it's making me trust her more. Because self-awareness, well, that's a real moat. Founders who write down memos outperform founders who just pitch. Because if you can't explain your own edge, why would anyone believe in it and invest in you? So here's my challenge to every founder watching this. Write your own memo, just for yourself. Think of it as a clarity check. From then, you'll know what you believe and what you're uncertain of. You'll become 10 times more fundable. And more importantly, you'll become a sharper operator. So whether you're investing in startups or building one, basically the takeaway is the same. Writing it down makes you better. Now, let me leave you with one final thought. As an investor, you can't control how a startup performs, but you can control how clearly you made the decision to back it. And that's the difference between a hobbyist and a professional. I'd love to see your version of a one-pager. Drop it in the comments or just share your favorite question you ask before investing. Thank you for watching. If you're not yet subscribed, please consider doing so with the subscribe button below. I publish a new video every week behind the scenes of my VC world. Thank you so much.